Hi, Matt McAleer, Director of Equity Strategies, Cumberland Advisors, June 16th, just after the close this week. I'm with Shaun Burgess. Shaun filling in for the Moose today. Shaun is Portfolio Manager and Analyst on our fixed income desk. Shaun's going to share a couple of thoughts on the Fed meeting this week. If you recall, last Friday, I had mentioned to John, you better get a good weekend of sleep with interest rate news and Fed meeting and so forth, but really kind of quiet in rate land.
Yeah, not a lot going on in terms of volatility or real Treasury moves, and it was really kind of surprising. You had CPI hit this week, PPI, two very important economic releases, very closely watched to get a real idea of what the Fed is thinking or what they may be doing. And then you had the Fed come out and you got the Fed pause, which the market largely expected. And I think that's what drove the week. No real surprises. You really didn't have, any real surprises coming out of the Fed. Their tone was a little hawkish, but really everything fell in line. CPI and PPI were good, really supported that kind of downtrend in inflation that we had been seeing, gives the Fed some breathing room. And we saw that with the pause this week. So,
we use that term priced in. So an awful lot of the data and the Fed speak was priced in to the fixed income market. And the 10-year Treasury, which I always use as kind of a benchmark, went out probably within a basis point or two of last Friday.
Yeah, largely flat. The 30-year was actually down a little bit. You saw all the action on that 2-year space and the short end, which is really Fed-driven. Intermediate and longer end tends to be market-driven.
Right.
So the short end higher, intermediate and longer really didn't do anything on the week, as you said. So it was a little bit of surprise in that regard. But clearly the market saw what the Fed had to say, what they did, and took it, kind of took it in stride.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on next week. Over in the land of equities, strong bid again. Remember last week I talked about the rubber band in the growth and tech area getting a little stretched. Well, it got a little more stretched this week. I'm going to bring up a chart just to share with you. This is a chart I like to take a look at on a weekly basis. Remember, you can trade very short term, daily, weekly. People longer term put securities away and keep them there for years without looking at them. What you're looking at here is an asset class chart depicting where the different asset classes trade on a 10-week trading band. And I just bring this up to show you on the far right-hand side, you see QQQ, which is the NASDAQ 100. You see XLG. You see VOOG. These are growth ETFs. Obviously, QQQ is primarily a tech ETF. These areas have had a heck of a run. They are very, very overbought here.
Oh, yeah.
And when we get to that side, I just mention this because you want to be careful, at least recognize that the market does have the ability to give up some of these gains rather quickly when you get that stretched. So if you're sitting on cash and have missed out on some of these names, maybe you only put a bit to work. Maybe you wait a little bit. If you own some of these names, which we do, it does not hurt to let go a little bit, to do a little bit of selling, to almost take some of that pressure off of the securities in your own mind. So we did a little bit of selling in some of those names, some of those tech type names. Longer term, still like them and may reload on any kind of pullback. Over on the left-hand side of the chart, you start to notice fixed income, having been quiet, is starting to work itself slowly into an oversold area or an area that we would be interested in being a buyer. And I know, speaking to Amy on our trading desk today, she's hoping to see more municipal scheduling offerings coming over the next 2 or 3 weeks. That'll be important so that we can put some of these higher rates into client accounts. So that chart just gives an overview of where we sit. Had a little bit of selling late today, just some natural selling into a 3-day weekend. And we'll reload and take a look where to allocate next week. Anything else, Shaun?
No, I mean, it was a very quiet week, not expected. So it was kind of a little bit of a reprieve. So we'll see what next week brings.
Okay, you got it. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next Friday.